Well, the first production I did for Tamasha was 14 Songs. It was a play that I did just after having left drama school. It was really my first professional theatre experience. And it was just a really wonderful time, actually. Christine was the first professional director I'd worked with as well, so I felt kind of spoilt, really, to have been working with someone of that kind of calibre, and also someone who was used to kind of, or had an understanding of theatre in ways that were kind of, pushing boundaries a little bit. A lot of the work that I've been doing at drama school for the 2 years before I'd joined the business was quite traditional theatre, very Western theatre, and quite traditional in its kind of approach to staging. I'd been at Manchester Uni before that, and it was far more exploratory. So to arrive at Tamasha, it kind of felt like coming home in a way, because he was a director who wanted to kind of try new things and wasn't afraid to, and it worked. 14 Songs worked as a show. I did 14 Songs in 1998, and then was phenomenally lucky. Within a couple of years, went on to do more musicals in the West End, and eventually Bombay Dreams in town. And I know that the start that 14 Songs, and indeed East is East, which I did with Christine up at Oldham Coliseum after 14 Songs, the start that had given me really, helped me an enormous amount to go on to be able to do Bombay Dreams and the stuff I've done since. I played Rajesh in 14 Songs, the kind of dutiful older brother, and I remember when I first got the script and went to meet Christine and Sudha in a church hall in Pimlico. In fact, it was. Cast my mind back now. I remember thinking, I'm not sure how this is going to work. Like, I don't really get the concept of having kind of playback singing. Even though we'd recorded the songs ourselves, having that played back instead of us all singing live in the theatre, and it was a new idea to put something like that on stage. And also the whole concept of kind of putting a Bollywood musical film on stage in that way, kind of lock, stock and barrel. Would a Western audience take to that? Would they get it? Would they not think it was kind of trite or obvious or any of those things? And I was proved wrong for the first day of rehearsals, never mind from when the show actually opened, because the audience took to that show in such an extraordinary way. I mean, we took it to Birmingham and to Bristol as well, and all sorts of audiences saw that show and were blown away by what they saw, and you could feel it by people talking to you afterwards, you really could. It was a really, really great show to do. I'm really proud of that show. What Christine was brilliant at doing from day one was forging a kind of company and a proper company feel. Something that I think is just so valuable, whatever media you're working in, whether it's film or television or theatre, to have a director who brings people together in that way and brings people out of themselves in a room is a wonderful thing for an actor, because it needs to be a free space to be able to work and create. And if you fall over and make an interview yourself, that's fine too. You've got to be allowed to do all those things in a rehearsal room. It's what produces good work. I've used many games that Christine used to use in our rehearsal rooms through the years, and through all my workshops that I've done since. They're things which are really useful. Tamasha was unique at the time. I mean, there were other companies around producing shows with a kind of an Asian slant, whatever that was. Not necessarily Asian companies, but shows which address issues, as it were. But also, the exciting thing about Tamasha to me, it never felt too issue-led as a company, and it was a company I wanted to join and be a part of, because it wasn't about kind of waving a banner for people whose voices hadn't been heard. For me, that wasn't what Tamasha was ever about. This was about producing good work and finding good stories, essentially, and that was worthy of a voice on stage, rather than it just being an excuse to say, you haven't heard us, give us a try. I think we're starting to reach a stage now where Asian actors, writers and directors are becoming much more mainstream, and now it's not something that is commented on as much when they appear on our screens, or when they've written scripts, or are directing features or plays. And all that has happened really since Tamasha has been around in the last 21 years. Now, I'm not saying it's solely due to Tamasha at all. Tamasha has been a big part of that kind of movement, and there's still a long way to go, there's no doubt about it. But what's interesting for me is that stories aren't so much kind of issue-led now in that kind of way. It's acceptable, it's okay for stories to be about communities where ethnicities mix, all sorts of other stories, and yet it's not considered as a solely Asian story or a solely Western story in that kind of way. My first experience of Tamasha was seeing East is East on stage in Bristol at the Old Vic Theatre when I was there at drama school. I remember thinking I'd seen nothing like this before. You know, here was this story which is kind of similar to my own. I'm mixed race as well. My father's born in India and my mum's English. And suddenly here on stage are 5 or 6 actors who kind of, you know, maybe similar backgrounds to my own. And I'm watching them do something on stage with a fantastic story, and it's not particularly issue-led, it is just a great, great piece. And I remember getting all my friends together, and we went to see it at the Royal Court, and I took my parents, and I went back time and time again. I adored that play. And then I didn't know that within a couple of years I'd be working with Christine in the play, actually, at Oldham, but before that doing 14 songs for Tamasha.